Hello and welcome to today's European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Shane and I am delighted to be joined by Yash Argawal, MVP India, who will be talking to you today about how to integrate Azure data with Power Platform. Remember to join in the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC20. Don't forget to check out the Resource Center. This is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. Simply visit sharepointeurope.com and click the content link at the top. After the webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you have in the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to our webinar presenter, Yash Argawal. Hello, Yash.
Hey Shane, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. So hopefully we can see your screen in a moment and you can take it away.
Sure thing. So, can you please give me a heads up if the screen is visible?
Yeah, I can see your screen. So Yash, take it away.
All right. Hey everyone, welcome to the Power Platform Week. I'll be talking about integrating Azure data with the Power Platform. To give an outline of this session, towards the end, you'll be able to understand how to use Azure services, especially the SQL Server, SQL data with Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI. We'll also take a look at how you can create a custom connector on the Power Platform with the support from Azure Active Directory Authentication. We'll see a few demos and then we'll also see a step-by-step implementation of each of the use cases that I'll be talking about. So let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about me. So I'm Yash Agarwal. I'm based out of India. Uh, I actively blog about the Power Platform and how you can add more features and capabilities and enhancements on my blog at bythedevs.com. So please feel free to follow me over there as well. Here is my Twitter handle. You can follow me on Twitter at yashagarwal1651. I'm also an active contributor on the Flow and the Power Apps community forums. So after the session, if you have any questions, you can reach out on Twitter or also on the forums. And then getting started with today's session. So first we'll take a look at Azure with Power Apps. Here on the screen on the right side, I have a screenshot from an Azure SQL database that I have provisioned in Azure. And once you provision a SQL database in Azure, you should be able to see these three options now under the Power Platform tab, which is Power BI, Power Apps, and Flow. So in this session, we'll take a look at how we can use the SQL Server data on Power Apps, Flow, and Power BI, and what wonders we can do with that. So first, let's get started with creating a simple Canvas app that sits on the top of this Azure SQL database, and how you can view data and sort data, and then add some screens over there to also edit the data here. There are two ways that you can create a Canvas app on the top of an Azure SQL database. So the first one is starting from the portal itself over here, which is by clicking on this button, Power Apps Preview. Let's take a look at a video of that implementation over here. Right now, this is my Azure portal screen where I have provisioned a database, which is the name YDB, and on a SQL server. And here I'm creating a Power Apps from the Power Apps tab over here under the Power Platform tab directly to spin up an app which comes up with a predefined template. It will have two screens where you can see and view data of the that are sitting on the SQL database. Here I'm providing the app name and the server credentials are being passed so that a connection is created to the SQL server and then to the table. Once you hit create, it is going to navigate you to the create.powerapps.com portal, and it is spinning up a Power App for you on the background by pulling out all the a template app and then switching the data connection to the Azure SQL database. So we should be able to see the app spinning up in a moment over here now. While this is loading, just make sure that whenever you're creating a SQL server and then the database and then spinning an app from the uh, Azure portal itself, it is going to create the app in the default environment of the tenant. So if you wanted to create it in a different environment, we'll have to switch to Power Apps and then create an app from templates on the Power Apps portal, which we'll be seeing in the coming demos. Here you can see it has provisioned a Power App for me with two screens, which is the one is the browse screen and one is the details screen. On the browse screen, we should be able to see all the individual records or individual items that have been created in the SQL database. If I click this chevron on each of the item record, it will open a details page and show me all the details of that particular row that I have selected. So I have a customers table in my SQL database, which has some data pre-populated. And the system we are looking at is a customer management system where company is selling certain products and then the customers are logging some feedback. And the feedback is finally being sent to a SQL database, of which the data we are displaying on this Canvas app over here. This is a gallery control that has been selected. And over here, it has automatically provisioned us in a way where the data is sorted appropriately. This is a detail screen, and you can see the data of a particular or more. If you had more fields, you could always see that on the next page. That is the details page. It allows you to sort and then view your data as needed. And then these are the two screens that are created by default. You can add another screen over here to perform any write operations that you want to do on the data on the SQL database. So this was about how we can create one app from the SQL database directly just with a few clicks without much coding at all, sitting on the top of a SQL Server database. Now let's take a look if you wanted to create an app on a different environment. So you would start with a template app, which is on the make.powerapps.com. So you navigate to make.powerapps.com and then select a connection, which is to the SQL Server. Over here, as you can see, the moment I select a SQL Server, it asks me to provide a type of authentication. This time, I'm creating an app in a different environment from scratch from Power Apps portal, and selecting the template, which is create an app starting with a data that I already have, a data source that I already have, and I have chosen SQL Server. So here I have provided the authentication as SQL Server authentication, and I'll be passing on these parameters from the database from my Azure portal. So I provide the SQL Server name and then the database name and provide the username and password. It will then prompt me to select a table. And here I have my customers table, which I'll choose and select connect. So the moment you press connect, again, it is pulling up a template app on the background and creating an app for you pointing towards the data source and the credentials that you have provided. It will again create an app by default with two screens, which is the first one, which will be a browse screen and then a detailed screen. And then you can add another screen to write the data to the SQL Server. And this particular connection with the SQL database creates this type of a template app for us. If you were using a SharePoint list as a data source, it by default creates an app with three screens where you can also have the option to edit data. Here in SQL, considering all the data permissions and the security roles, it creates the app in that way. So as you can see, it has created an app similar to what we created in the previous demo. It has two screens, the browse and the details screen, and then you can add another screen which will allow you where you can add more formulas if you wanted to edit these items. So this is how you can simply create apps on the top of Azure data, which is Azure SQL Server data, which we have seen just now. Now let's take a look and step advance where how you can bring this data into Power Automate and how you can interact with the data in Power Automate. So we'll move to our next slide, which is Azure with Power Automate. Before we move to the demo, here are the supported connectors that are currently available in Power Automate for Azure. So there are about 30 plus services and tools that you can connect to in Azure from Power Automate and get the data flowing. Apart from this, if there is anything which is supported on a REST API and the connector is not available, you can always create a custom connector or use the HTTP action in Power Automate to invoke that particular service and then get the data from there to get going on this. And you can club multiple actions from different services also. So for example, let's say if currently the Power Platform supports over 300 plus connections and services to different Microsoft and non-Microsoft services. So you could pull data from a SQL server, you could push it to a SharePoint list, and then you can send an email with a report of the select queries to a manager. You could use approval actions, and then you can invoke the Azure Resource Manager action to deploy certain resources. So a typical example in that case would be if you wanted to automate template deployments. We are not covering that in this demo, but as an example, I would like to cite this one. So let's say if there's a new resource joining a company and you wanted to deploy a virtual machine for this person who has recently joined. So you can directly create an email-based approval with Power Automate such that if the manager approves this particular request, it automatically validates a template deployment by pulling it from a repository such as an Azure storage account or from a GitHub repository. It validates the template deployment on your Azure tenant and then returns with the result if the template validation was succeeded. You can add another approval action upon which the resource can be deployed, and then the person who has joined can get an email with all the credentials and the details of the resource that was deployed. And that can be done using this Azure Resource Manager connector, which is available with Power Automate. And then to the connectors which are not available directly, you can always use HTTP actions for that. Now let's take a look at a demo where I'm going to trigger a flow manually and add certain parameters and then get some data from the SQL server. Before we get into this demo, do we have any questions so far?
No, Yash, we've no questions so far, so continue on.
Sure, and please do stop me if at all I'm running too fast. So I'll just go ahead with this demo where we are going to demo a Power Automate based flow. So it is a manual trigger that I'm using here right now. You can choose from a lot of select triggers based upon the scenario that you're trying to build. And here I'm triggering this flow with two inputs, which is the status and an agent name. Now I'm adding an action, which is from the SQL server to list rows present in my database table. I have already created a connection to the SQL server, and then I'm selecting the same from here, the server name and then the database name. And then here I provide the table name, which is customer request that I have created in my SQL DB. This particular get rows action is just a simple action which is going to pull all the rows from my SQL database. Now, in this particular action that I have added just now, I'm going to show how you can add filter queries. So as you can see, I can order by, I can add a filter query, I can skip certain entries, I can get top selected entries from whatever the resultant is, and then I have a select query also. So I'm going to type a filter query where I want to filter records by a particular agent name only. So this filter is basically going to look for agent where the value is equal to the agent that I'm going to provide while I'm triggering the flow manually. Now let's take a look at how you can execute a stored procedure on the SQL database directly. So it is available as a direct action in Power Automate. My stored procedure expects a parameter of status. So I'm going to provide that when I'm going to trigger the flow manually. So it detects what parameters are requested and asks you to provide the same. Now, once these three actions are successful, I want to create HTML tables from the data that is being retrieved. So I'm going to directly add the action of create an HTML table and pass the value that is being returned from the action. Now this HTML table action that is being created over here is creating the table automatically, and it is directly considering the columns that are there on the SQL database. I can always change those columns and provide customized columns and then map them to certain data columns from the SQL database. So we'll be repeating the create HTML table for the other two actions also over here. and we'll see how the filtering of the data is working. Finally, once this HTML table is created, we can add further actions if you wanted to send it as an email for approval, or if you wanted to populate an Excel sheet based on the SQL database, you can add those consequent actions and then complete the use case by connecting multiple data sources at one place. So we'll save and start testing this out now. The first parameter that the flow is expecting is the status. So this is the status for a particular customer request, and it could be closed or it could be pending, in progress, anything like that. So I just want to filter tickets which have the status as closed, and I want for the stored procedure. And then for the filter query, I want to return the items which have the agent selected as agent 001. I'll trigger the flow and it will start running. And as you can see, I'm on the run history now. So this is the first action, which is get rows without any filters. It is going to get all the rows from the SQL database. The second action, where we are just getting items where the agent column agent has the value agent 001, it is going to filter that for us. And finally, the stored procedure.
Hello, Yash. Are you still there?
Where we want to get the items which have the status as closed. So it's going to get me the items that have the request status as closed only.
Hello, Yash.
Hello.
Hi, we seem to be having some technical difficulties there. Your audio dropped out for a
Hey,
minute, but I think you're
I'm here.
okay
Can you?
now. I think you're okay now.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yep, take it away.
Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah. So I was just showing this action where we are creating an HTML table. So Shane, would you mind telling me where I was lost so
Just
I can
there, a
continue this
few,
pick up from?
yeah, just there for about 30 seconds. So I think you're okay.
All right. Okay. So I'll just come out again to the run flow where I'll be triggering the flow over here. So I have passed the parameters on my manual trigger. I have provided the agent name and the status, and the flow has run now. So in my first action, I'm getting all the rows from the SQL database without any filters. The second action is filtering where the agent name is agent 001. So it is going to get only those rows that have the value as agent 001 for the agent column. And then the stored procedure where we are running it for the items that have the status marked as closed. So it is just going to return those items. And then finally, we are creating these HTML tables based on the data which is being returned on all these three actions. So these are the columns that I already have created on the SQL database. So it is directly referring those. But if you wanted to change that, we can change it in the advanced settings. Then this flow is just where we are creating these HTML tables on a manual trigger. You can always create this on a recurrence or a scheduled trigger to get information on a particular date or on a particular status for a particular agent, and then keep sending reminder emails, automate that process, and include approvals and do a lot of other things also. You can also then integrate some other data sources, which could be like, let's say, if there is a new ticket that has been created from Power Apps on the SQL database. So you can trigger a flow from there where it will get that information and create a task on Azure DevOps, which can further be assigned to a particular team who will be working on that ticket. So the entire end-to-end process automation can be created that way. So I'll come back to my PPT now, where we have been talking about the Power Automate with Azure connection. So moving forward, now I'll show how we can connect the data integration with Azure and Power BI. So again, all the connectors that we have for Power Automate on the Power Platform, the similar connectors are again available for Power BI also. And then we have the Azure Data Catalog and the Azure SQL that we will be looking in particular for this demo. And Azure Data Catalog is a new it's like a service which from Azure where you can combine or where you can register all the data sources in a particular tenant and add more meaning to your data. So if it were to be explained in layman terms, an Azure Data Catalog can be considered as a central repository where all data sources can be registered, and you can add more metadata to make the data meaningful. And let's say if I am a developer, I create a SQL database with all sorts of fancy names or a naming convention that it could be like customer ID 001, which doesn't necessarily have to mean something to a person who's going to analyze that data. So in such situations, I will create an Azure Data Catalog. I'll register my SQL Server database on that Azure Data Catalog and add more metadata so that people can understand what that data actually is. So let's take a look at a demo on that. So this is an Azure Data Catalog resource that we are looking at. Right now, Azure allows you to create only one data catalog per tenant or per organization. And once you create a data catalog, based on the roles and permissions assigned, users can register databases over here. And based on those roles and permissions, the access can be configured as well. So I have configured my customers database SQL Server table over here on the Azure Data Catalog. Once it has been registered over here, I can add a friendly name to the database. Right now it's quite friendly customers, but then if there was a particular naming convention being followed, you could add a friendly name to your database and then add a description about it of what this database is for, or what applications or what data sources the data is getting filled from, where is the data coming to this database from, and where it is going from this database to. You can add more tags to filter appropriately on this database such that the users can, or the users who have to get information from this database can properly identify it on the catalog. And then if you can expand, you can add column wise description also. So in my database where I have this table as customers, I have 3 columns, which is request ID, customer name, and customer comments. And then I can add more tags over here to identify what each column is for. And I can add more description to each column so that it has a better meaning, or it is more friendly to the person or to the analyst who can directly come and analyze this data from the data catalog. So why this is relevant now is what we'll be seeing in the next few minutes. And as I was saying, you can add more documentation about the database also. So you could, I mean, it provides you with an interface where you can enter more information, where you can list down all the applications which will be interacting with the data in this particular database, and details like that, so that users and analysts have a better grasp at it. Now, finally, as you were able to see in the tab over here, I select a particular database table and then I click on the open in button from here, and it allows me to directly download this as a Power BI open it on the Power BI desktop. I can get the top 1,000 rows and open it in Excel to analyze it, or I could use it as a Power Query. So we are focusing on the Power BI demo right now. So I'll directly download it as a Power BI desktop and open it in Power BI desktop to create a report from this data. So this is loading all the data in the Power BI desktop to create a report over here. Once I hit the apply changes, it should be loading all the fields from my SQL Server database. Once the report has been filled with that data, I can go ahead and add more data sources also to create a relational and a more interactive report. As you can see, the customer's data table has loaded over here with the 3 columns, which is customer name, customer concern, and request ID. I'll simply create a pie chart to visualize some data over here based upon the customer name and the concern that they have created. So as you can see, I have data from 4 customers over here, and there are 4 request IDs that are created. And over here, I have just created a simple pie chart where it is showing me these details. Now, this was about how we can get the SQL data from the Azure Data Catalog to our Power BI report. I also have a SharePoint list on which there's another Power App setting, and then there's another team working with a similar customer request. So let's take a look at how we can associate that list over here onto this Power BI report and make a relation between the SQL data and the SharePoint list, and then Excel and then CDS also. So I have directly added the data sources from the Get Data tab over here. The customers table, as you can see on the screen, is coming from the SQL database. The table 1 here is coming from an Excel sheet. So as you know that a Power App can also, a Canvas app based Power App can be created on the top of an Excel table. So I have an app which is working on the Excel table. I have an app which is working on a SQL database. And then I have a model driven app which is on the top of a CDS database. So the table 1 here is from the Excel data base, where I have 3 columns, which is country, customer name, and product. So the common column between these 2 databases, which is the customer SQL table and the Excel table, is the customer name. And then I have a CDS entity, which is this CRE88 underscore customers orders. So I'm going to create a relationship between these 3 tables. I add a new relationship. First, I select the CDS table, and then I'm creating one between the CDS and the SQL. I select the name of the customer and then create the relationship between them. Similarly, we'll create it for the CDS base and the Excel sheet. And finally, between the SQL and the Excel table. So you directly select the column that you want to map and relate in between these databases and create the relationship. So now all these 3 data tables have been related with the customer name as the common column. So let's go ahead and start creating some more visuals over here. While we are creating this, you should be able to see on the right side where the cursor is right now on the fields tab, you should be able to see all the 3 tables. First one is the CRE88 underscore customers, which is coming from the CDS. So I have a CDS database on which there's a model driven app, and the internal employees are working on tickets on the model driven app, and they keep updating that. The customers table can be considered as the on-field engineers who are getting information from the customers and reporting and creating tickets directly over there. And then the Excel table can be considered in a similar way on a Canvas app, where the users are adding more information about the sales on a particular product or customers from a particular region. So here we are going to create a bar diagram chart where we'll see where we'll categorize each customer by their spends or by the total value of the orders that they have created. So as you can see, I have 5 customers in my CDS database who have ordered items worth the amounts as shown. And then we are adding another graph where we want to see from the Excel table that where from which area most customers are coming from. So as I have 5 customers on my data table, 2 are from US, 2 are from India, and one of them is from China. Now, how are these related to each other? So, for example, as you can see, I have selected the country in the first table, first graph over here, and then it has selected the related data in the other graphs as well. As you can see in the first count of requests by customer name, which we created based on the SQL database, where we were getting the number of requests created per customer. The second one, where we were creating the graph to see the number of or the amount of orders ordered by each customer. And then finally, what product each customer has opted for. And here on this graph, we have selected the region as US. So on the other graphs, we want to see what are the relation between the data from the customers who are from the US. So as you can see here, we have one person from the US ordering this particular item, and customer 4 and customer 2 basically are from the US, have ordered for this much particular amount, and you can see what are the products that they have ordered. So one is product 2 and one has ordered product 1. Similarly, if I selected India, it will shift the graph that way. And finally, if I wanted to see what product has more, what product has been ordered more, what product has been ordered more. Similarly, you can create an interactive report that way on the Power BI using multiple data sources over here. So this was about how you can integrate the data with Power BI. Any questions so far?
No, Sash, we have no questions yet, so it's a good sign.
I think I see a question here. Okay, no, sorry. My bad. I was just pulling up the chat to see what has been happening so far.
No problem.
Okay. So next we move on to a custom connector part. So as I have covered earlier, that the Power Platform and specifically Power Automate part, where it covers about 300 connectors to different Microsoft and non-Microsoft products and services. If there is a service that you have availed which has access to a REST API, but then there is no connector to it, so you can always create a custom connector from the Power Platform over here. I'll just show it on show the demo real soon on that. And that custom connector can be authenticated from the Azure Active Directory, or you can authenticate using OAuth 2.0. You can authenticate it using a bearer token, and multiple such options are available. And if you get into details of what a custom connector can do, so for example, let's say if you have a service like let's assume if you just have a SQL Server database where there's certain data living of your customer requests that have been created, but you don't want to directly get it through Flow, or you want to add more, you want to perform a certain calculation or certain operations before you get that into a Flow or into a Power App. You could follow a system architecture that has been shown on this image over here. So I have a SQL Server where all my data is living, and then I create an Azure Function app on the top of it. So the Azure Function app gets data from the SQL Server, performs certain operations on the data, and then sends it through a custom connector to Power Automate or to a Canvas app that I'm using. And then it could be like I could pass a parameter from my Flow or from my Canvas app to the custom connector, which in turn is passed on to the function app as a parameter. And the function app uses that parameter to get the data from the SQL Server or SQL database and then perform that calculation on it. So it could be like calculating simple interest maybe for a particular customer, or calculating the number of years a customer has been with the company. So you can just directly get the data from the SQL database to function app, put your logic for the code to perform whatever calculation it needs to, and then get it through the custom connector to Power Automate or to the Power App. I can add, for example, I can add a parameter to get, let's say, get me the list of customers who are with the company for more than 5 years. So I pass 5 as a parameter from my Flow or from the Canvas app to the custom connector, and then the parameter 5 is sent to the Azure Function app, which in turn looks into the SQL database to get the list accordingly, and then sends the data to the Flow or the app. So let's take a look at a demo for that now. So here I am again on the make.powerapps.com. On the left nav bar, you can navigate to data and then custom connectors. So we'll go ahead and create a simple custom connector from blank. In this demo, let's take a look at a open API that I'm going to use to create a custom connector and show you how the process is. So I'm providing a name for a customer over on the custom connector over here. The open API that we're going to use is the JSON placeholder, and we can pass parameters like user ID or the ID, and then get the data in the Flow or in the Power App. So I'm going to provide the host now to the custom connector over here. And over here, as you can see, these are the authentication types currently supported. Either it could be no authentication, a basic authentication, API key, or OAuth 2.0. But this is the way when we are creating a custom connector from scratch, from blank, directly on the portal. You can also import the Postman collections if you have. You can import Swagger files of the service that you are running, and directly go to the step 3 where you'll add definitions, and the step 1, that is general, and the security gets covered, and it dynamically pulls all the data from the Swagger file or the Postman collections. So in basic authentication or in API key, you can see the parameters that it requests. If your application was OAuth 2.0 configured, or if you were authenticating it from the Azure Active Directory, you can register an application over there, provide the permissions of an API, or let's assume that if you wanted to create a custom connector for the Graph API to perform certain actions on the Microsoft 365 services. So you can create an app registration in the Azure portal, and then on the app registration, provide the API permissions to the Graph API, and then copy the client ID, the client ID refresh URL, and the client secret over here. Provide all these parameters, and then create an authentication mechanism to the Graph API that way, or to any application which is registered with the Active Directory. And since this one is an open API that we are using in this sample, we'll directly go with no authentication, and I'll add a simple action which would be a GET request to get a certain response based on the parameters that I provide. So here, let's create an action first. This tab where we are importing a request directly, we have to provide the URL from where we want to, the URI basically of the service that we want to hit and get the data. So I'm selecting the GET request and providing the URL now. To parse the response appropriately, we'll have to add a sample response. So I'll just copy the entire JSON from here and then pass it over there to directly generate this JSON schema for the response, so that it can come in the dynamic selector when we are running it in Power Automate or in Power Apps. And in these 3 simple steps, we have finally created the custom connector, and now we can test it out. Even though the authentication was not required for this, we still have to create a connection, and after creating the connection, only the custom connector can be used. So as you can see, the connector is displaying under the custom connectors. I'll hit the test tab again, and my connection has been created. Upon testing the operation, it returns the same response as we have in the open API that we just saw. So this custom connector can now be used in Power Automate or in the Canvas app, and then you can pass certain parameters and then get data from your service, or from the service that does not have a direct connector to in the Power Platform right now. So any questions on this so far?
Hi, Yash. Yeah, we have one question here. It goes, can you explain D365FO connector and what data is available?
So the D365 the FinOps connector has certain actions that are currently available. So I would definitely recommend to check out the documentation once. You can directly connect to the instance of the FNO and then perform certain actions on the entities. The limitations and the throttling limits are all available on the documentation. But I don't have a demo created right now for that.
And how do you package a custom connector?
A custom connector to export?
The person hasn't specified which. Hopefully they might come back with a clarification on that.
Sure. So once a custom connector has been created, so for example, if you were an ISV that is creating a certain application, so you can create a custom connector on the top of it. After testing, you can publish it to Microsoft for a request to publish it such that people can access it. And once approved, it can be listed into the normal connectors.
Yeah, they've said that how do you package a custom connector for exporting? That's the actual question.
Yeah, so you could do like a Swagger file, export it as a Swagger file, and then import it in, or you could create a Postman collection first out of it.
Okay, and can we use this custom connector with Power BI as well?
I haven't really tried that out, but I believe it can be used.
Okay, super. That's the question so far, Yash.
All right, so there's one bonus demo that I have that I want to show now. Um, So as we were discussing earlier about how, I believe you can see the screen where I'm showing a email-based action here.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. So as I was talking about the Azure Resource Manager API and automating it with approvals. So this is the one that I wanted to show. I have an email action here. So what I'm doing is first I'm sending an email to this particular account and requesting for a resource type of storage account and creating an approval for that. And if the outcome of the approval is approved, then I want to create the storage account. And if not, I want to send an email saying that, okay, this request has been rejected. So here we have actions to validate a template deployment first. And then we have an action once the template deployment is complete, we'll be actually deploying this template. So if I go back real quick and show this template, so this is an ARM template, the Azure Resource Manager template for deploying a storage account on Azure. And here I have provided certain parameters to create a simple basic storage account. On the condition here, so first step was to validate this template deployment. Now I want to check if the template deployment has been validated. So I'm checking the parameter. If it has succeeded, only then create the template deployment using the Azure Resource Manager connector. And if not, then just send an email stating that it was failed. The template URI which is being passed, and then the outputs which are being expected on my action over here. And once the template deployment is completed, I want to read it and I want to wait for the flow to check if the template deployment was successful. And once successful, then send an email to the user stating whatever request was for the particular Azure resource and the credentials to use it. This is a past JSON action where we're getting the outputs from the previous action. So what happens is in a template, in an Azure Resource Manager template, you can have the schema for the outputs that are being returned from the template in a different way. So it is not directly available as dynamic content and it returns just the entire body. So we are passing that through a parse JSON action and then finally getting that and sending it in an email. So let's see this in action real quick. I'm going to send an email to myself with a particular subject which the flow is looking for. Once this email has been sent, it triggers the flow. And I mean, as I have sent an email to myself, it is run pretty fast. Over here, now it says the flow is running because the flow has triggered upon the email and it has started an approval action. So as you can see in the flow, I have for the demo purpose, I have configured my account. So I should be able to see the approved card directly, which is an actionable email. And I can approve or reject this request from the email itself. And as you can see, I have approved and the approval response has been registered and the template validation has started. So as it is a storage account, the template validation runs pretty fast and it has returned with a response that way. Now it is provisioning a storage account in Azure for us. So let's quickly check the Azure portal. Upon refresh, it is showing me the deploying item over here and the name of the deployment as well. So this is the name of the storage account that we have provided in the parameters file for our template, and it sends an email with the credentials saying that this resource has been provisioned. So as you can see, each action's outputs can further be checked, and then you can validate if this is the entire automation process that needs to be implemented. And by the use of connectors and these actions, the entire automation can be achieved this way. So this brings me to the end of the slide now. I'm open to questions.
Great stuff, Yash. Thank you so much. Yes, we will have a questions and answers part, so should you wish to ask a question, please type it into the questions window now. I think the questions earlier, Yash, was pretty much everything we had to date, but we'll give people just a few seconds in case anybody has a final question for you. In the
Sure.
meantime, Yash, on behalf of the ESPC community, thank you for taking the time to complete the webinar today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for providing me with the opportunity, actually.
Great. No, it's great to have you on board. Yash, there is just one question in here, or just comments. Everyone just saying thank you, thumbs up for the great presentation, and thank you for such a helpful presentation. So I think your content has been well received by the community.
Thank you so much, everyone. And if you wanted to add me on LinkedIn, so please scan this QR code and we can connect there as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Yash. Okay, everybody, that is pretty much it for today. Just bear with me here for one moment. This is the end of today's webinar. Please see sharepointeurope.com for further details on all upcoming webinars. We actually have a webinar later today with Donna Sackar, and she will be talking about power platforms for fame and fortune. And that's happening later today. Please see sharepointeurope.com for full details. Again, a big thank you to Yash for his time today, and thank you for joining us. That's the end of today's webinar. Take care and goodbye.